The June heat blanketed the city's main boulevard like a thick, inescapable quilt. On the glossy black asphalt lot of Blake's Heavy Motors truck dealership, dozens of heavy-duty vehicles steadily rolled into the display area, accompanied by the steady rumble of engines and the occasional hiss of exhaust. No one paid attention to an old silver-gray Chevrolet quietly parked in a shaded corner, its hood paint faded and body speckled with the scratches of time. The car door opened, and a man stepped out with a slightly hunched posture, tugging at the waistband of his worn, knee-faded jeans. He wore a faded dark red flannel shirt and a low-brimmed cap that nearly covered half his face, with stubble on his chin suggesting he hadn't shaved in 3 days. Beneath that plain exterior was something no one would have guessed. Ethan Blake, founder, CEO, and the very soul of Blake's Heavy Motors. 15 years ago, he'd started out with just 2 trucks in a small garage behind his house. Today, the dealership chain brings in over $80 million annually, spanning across 3 states. But growth came with distance between him and the very place that once formed the heart of his career. Recently, Ethan had received anonymous emails from former customers, complaints about unexpected surcharges, sneaky, mandatory protection schemes, and staff refusing to explain contracts. That's why today Ethan wasn't driving his familiar black Mercedes, nor stepping out of a glass-walled executive office. He arrived as an ordinary customer, or more precisely, as Cole Jensen, an electrician from the suburbs looking for a new truck for his upcoming project. The cap he wore wasn't just to conceal his identity, it also held a small dash cam, already recording since he hit the road. Ethan walked slowly, eyes sweeping the lot as if browsing, but in truth, scanning expressions, greetings, sales techniques, and those often overlooked silent cues. He saw the glass doors of the showroom slide open as a young employee stepped out, looking both eager and hurried. His name tag read, Leo Tran. "Good morning." Leo approached quickly, his smile honed by months of sales experience. "I'm Leo, a consultant here. What kind of truck are you looking for today?" Ethan shifted his voice, adding a deliberate husk and hesitation. "Hey there, name's Cole. I do residential electrical work, get into some dusty sites, so I'm looking for something durable, heavy duty, without all the fancy add-ons. We've got the Titan Pro series, or the upgraded Ford F-150, both great for payloads. What kind of budget are you working with so I can better help?" "Got around 35 grand, Ethan replied, rubbing the back of his neck like someone unused to negotiating. Leo nodded, then turned to lead Ethan past a row of trucks. They stopped in front of a silver F-150 with a high chassis and gleaming interior. "This one just came in 2 days ago. Comes with a 3-year warranty, new V6 engine, and includes the diamond protection package. We call it Titan Shield. Covers everything from taillights to door handles." Ethan squinted. "What's Titan Shield?" Leo paused for half a second. It's an extended protection plan. Most customers like it. It's already included in the sticker price." A chill ran down Ethan's spine. According to the company policy he had personally signed off on, all protection packages were optional. Customers had to be clearly informed and have the right to decline. He glanced at the sticker on the windshield, listed at $36,800, nearly over the budget he had just given. "That package mandatory?" Ethan asked, keeping a naive tone. Leo avoided eye contact, pressing his lips together. "Management usually recommends it be included for convenience. It can be removed, but getting approval would be tough." Ethan turned his head slightly and saw an older man standing behind the high glass office wall. His gaze, hawk-like, scanned the entire showroom. Hair slicked back, expensive shirt standing behind the glass like someone apart from the world of customers below. "Travis Monroe, sales manager, the one running this place." "He's watching you," Ethan said quietly. Leo froze. A flicker of worry crossed his face, but quickly turned into a forced smile. "It's okay. Let's take the truck for a spin first, then we'll sit down and go over the details." Ethan nodded. He knew this game well. Raised the customer's excitement, then pulled a switch at the contract table. But he said nothing. This was just the beginning. They test drove the F-150 around the lot, Leo talking about the engine, suspension system, and cargo bed, while Ethan discreetly observed how Leo dodged price-related questions. After 20 minutes, they returned to the showroom. The cool air inside quickly dried the sweat on Ethan's skin. But the coldest thing in that room wasn't the temperature, it was what was about to unfold. As they sat down, Ethan quietly watched Leo open his laptop. His hands trembled slightly. "Mr. Cole, I'll fill out the basic info. This model is listed at $36,800, includes the Titan Shield package and some processing fees." "Fees?" Ethan asked, still calm. Leo pressed his lips again. "Document handling, market adjustment, periodic service package in total, about $41,300. $1,000. Over $6,000 in extra charges for a customer who just came to look." Ethan tightened his grip under the table. At that moment, from the next table, a choked shout rang out. "What is this? I signed the contract yesterday. That wasn't the price. When did you add this? I don't have more money." Ethan turned slowly, a man in a red jacket with dark circles under his eyes, hands trembling as he held a crumpled contract. That was Miguel Santos. Ethan tightened the strap of his cap, hiding his reaction. He didn't need to ask anything else. He was standing in the middle of a carefully staged performance, a sophisticated scam unfolding right in the showroom he had built on trust, and he swore he would be the last audience to this act. The glass-walled room on the second floor offered a sweeping view of the entire showroom. Travis Monroe stood there, one hand holding a cup of black coffee, the other tucked into the pocket of his tailored slacks, his cold gaze following every movement below like a wolf stalking prey. He had just witnessed Miguel Santos erupt in anger and saw Leo fumbling to fold the contract, face pale as a sheet. Travis smirked and took a slow sip of coffee. Emotion makes people sign faster. He had once said that in an internal training session. Ethan Blake or Cole Jensen remained still at the table below. He didn't blink as he watched Miguel Santos slam the papers down and bury his head in despair. That image dragged him back to memory from when he was 14, when his father, a long-haul trucker, was tricked into buying a used truck with a worn-out engine, pressured into signing a loan far beyond what he could repay. His family had to sell their home just to settle the debt. His mother cried in silence through an entire winter. That old wound had never healed, and now, inside the very place that bore his name, Ethan saw it repeating, even more painful than the first time. Leo whispered, "Mr. Cole, shall we continue with the paperwork?" Ethan nodded slowly. "All right, but I'd like to see a full breakdown of the costs." Leo hesitated, glancing up toward the second floor. "Sure, I'll print a draft for you." As Leo left the table, Ethan pulled out a small, pre-written note, discreetly slipping it into the narrow gap under the dashboard of a nearby display truck. "Ask about every fee from someone who's been burned. A small act, but a seed of resistance." Just then, the door at the far end of the showroom swung open. A petite elderly woman around 70, her silver hair neatly pinned, entered using a cane, accompanied by a young man who appeared to be her grandson. Before Leo could return, another employee quickly approached her. Name was Alyssa, neatly dressed, voice sweet as sugarcane. "Here to review your contract, ma'am?" Alyssa asked as the elderly woman handed over a stack of papers. "Yes, I just want to know what this Titan Shield is. I don't remember agreeing to that." "Oh, ma'am, that's already included in the contract. You probably didn't notice. We didn't force it on you." "But I already signed. I thought the price was only $29,000. Alyssa kept smiling. "Yes, that's correct. But after TAMO, protection fees, market adjustments, and the periodic service package, that's the real price. Oh, other dealerships do this too, ma'am." That sentence pierced Ethan's ears like a needle. "Can she cancel?" the grandson asked, his voice sharp with anger. Alyssa smiled with hidden meaning. "If you cancel, you'll forfeit the deposit, nearly $4,000. You don't want to lose it all, do you?" Ethan couldn't take it anymore. He clenched his hands so tightly his knuckles cracked. A whole system of deceit, seamless, without a gunshot, yet it broke people down with fear. Fear of losing deposits, fear of paperwork, fear of their own silence. Leo returned holding the itemized breakdown. He gently placed it in front of Ethan, eyes fixed on the floor. Ethan pretended to read each line slowly. Listed price, $36,800. Titan Shield fee, $1,200. Regional market adjustment, $900. Internal processing fee, $550. Periodic service package, $1,050. Total, $4,500. Do you think that's fair? Ethan asked, still calm. Leo hesitated. A soft sigh slipped from his lips. Honestly, I don't think so, but I'm not allowed to object here. Ethan looked Leo straight in the eyes, no longer hesitant. I need you to be honest with me. If I hadn't asked, would these fees still be included? Leo gave a tiny nod. It's the pressure strategy so the customer won't back out. If someone declines Titan Shield, the finance team will say the bank won't approve the loan, or they'll devalue the trade-in. You get it, right? Ethan sat in silence. This game wasn't just about deceiving customers. It was a chain of silent coercion that bound even the honest employees. And Travis? Ethan lowered his voice. Leo looked around, then leaned in closer to Ethan. He's the one who designed this whole model. I once tried to speak up. They moved me to Sunday and Monday shifts, the slowest days. And Josh, the one who sold to Mr. Santos, he was fired last week for quoting the real price without add-ons. Ethan pulled out his phone from his shirt pocket and quietly tapped to start recording. Go on, Leo. His voice was low, like the swell of a coming storm. Leo froze. Who are you? Ethan smiled. An old customer. Someone who once lost more than you think. And now I'm here to reclaim what's right. In that moment, Leo understood something bigger was at play. He didn't yet know who Cole Jensen really was, but he knew he wasn't alone anymore. Meanwhile, on the second floor, Travis still leaned against the glass, sipping his coffee as if everything remained under his control. No one had told him yet that what he thought was a stage was slowly becoming a crime scene, and the audience was no longer silent. The air in the showroom that afternoon felt heavier than usual, as if invisible particles of long-buried deceit were gathering in the sunlight pouring through the glass. Ethan Blake, under the name Cole Jensen, walked away from the sales desk holding a printed contract riddled with unnamed fees, his mind blazing like an engine revved into the red. He didn't leave right away. Instead, he asked to use the restroom, then quietly veered off into the service area, a space no customer was allowed without staff supervision. Leo had returned to the desk to assist another client, making it the perfect window of opportunity. At the end of a narrow hallway, under flickering fluorescent lights, a steel door stood slightly ajar. Ethan nudged it open. The service bay emerged, quiet, saturated with the smell of grease and burnt rubber. Inside, a graying man in a technician's uniform embroidered with the name Noah was working on the rear suspension of a pickup truck. Ethan stepped in. Sorry I got turned around, was looking for the restroom. The man looked up, wiping his hands on a rag. Customer, huh? Restrooms to the left. This isn't the way. Oh, so you're one of the techs here? Ethan asked casually, his eyes flicking to an internal bulletin pinned to the tool cabinet. No inspection allowed unless purchase paperwork is complete. Noah gave a weary half smile. Yeah, I've been a tech here a long time. 10 years and counting. Used to be a good place. Now I just count the hours till I'm off. Ethan stepped closer. What happened? I'm a customer and even I notice something's off. Staff won't give straight answers and the paperwork's unusually murky. Noah paused. He looked at Ethan for a long moment. Who are you? Someone who cares. Noah sat down, hands still idly turning a wrench. I reported the whole distract the customer routine. Fees sneaked in at signing. Travis called me into his office, told me I was straying from my role. Since then, no overtime. Trucks that need proper inspection? They're told to let them go, can't risk slowing the sales pace. Ethan nodded. Another crack. And not a solitary one, but part of a spreading web of damage. He thanked Noah without pressing further. Back in the showroom, Ethan ran into Leo again, who was clutching his phone, tension etched across his face. He startled when he saw Ethan. Something wrong? Ethan asked. Leo hesitated, then sighed. Come with me. I'll show you something. They slipped through a rear door to the mezzanine, a seldom-used space. In a dusty archive room, Leo pulled up a file on his phone and handed it to Ethan. This is the sales strategy training doc Travis wrote. I saved it secretly from an internal email, Leo said. Ethan skimmed it. Under the section titled Techniques for Handling Hesitant Customers was a striking passage. If the customer declines the protection plan, notify finance that approval may be difficult. If they accept, mark the file priority. Use ambiguity solely as a pressure tool. Another section stated clearly, create urgency, only one unit left in this configuration. Frame market adjustment fees as external fluctuations. Ethan clenched the phone. These weren't tailored sales techniques. This was a systematic operation, sanctioned by leadership, designed to manipulate customers through pressure and emotion. He looked up at Leo. Why are you showing me this? Leo met his gaze, unwavering. I'm no hero. I stayed silent before. But you asked questions today. And I don't want to look back and realize I was part of it. Ethan nodded. This young man caught in a web of pressure and fear still had a piece of conscience intact. Footsteps echoed from the hallway below. Leo quickly hid his phone, and the two pretended to reorganize file folders. A finance department employee passed by, glanced at them, then kept walking. No suspicions raised. After saying goodbye to Leo, Ethan walked out of the showroom. He didn't head home. Instead, he drove to a small cafe near the industrial park where the Wi-Fi wasn't too slow and no one knew his face. There he opened his phone, connected it to his laptop, and backed up everything. Audio recordings, photos, the PDF Leo had shared. Every file, every conversation was a bullet, not for revenge, but to reclaim dignity for those silenced. Night was falling, the streetlights casting hazy streaks across the cafe's glass windows. Ethan looked at his own reflection, no longer the optimistic man from before, but not someone who had given up either. Tomorrow he would return to the showroom, but this time not as someone looking for a truck, as someone searching for justice in the place that bears his name. That afternoon, the sun scorched the pavement outside Blake's Heavy Motors. But inside the second-floor management office, Travis Monroe lounged comfortably as always. He had just wrapped up what he proudly called a sales rescue, pushing a young customer into accepting the Titan Shield package through a barrage of financial threats and bank procedures. He sipped his cold coffee and smirked as he looked down at the showroom through the one-way glass. He had no idea that today would be the last time he'd ever look down from that position. Downstairs, Ethan Blake, disguised as Cole Jensen, stood at Leo Tran's desk, eyes fixed on the contract the young salesman had just printed. Total cost, $41,500. Packed with hidden fees Ethan knew full well were against company policy, but he wasn't angry, and he wasn't in a rush. He looked up and smiled. Leo, before I sign, I'd like to speak directly with the person who approves the contracts. That would be Travis, right? Leo hesitated, glancing toward the glass office. Yes, but if it's about the price, I can try to make some adjustments. No need. Just tell him the customer has an important question. Leo paused a moment, then nodded. In his eyes, something flickered. Not fear, but hope. 5 minutes later, Travis Monroe arrived. Same expensive gray suit, deep red tie, and that smile, as manufactured as ever clicked on as he approached. Good afternoon. I'm Travis, sales director here. Leo mentioned you had a few concerns. Ethan rose. His eyes no longer carried the casual air of an electrician shopping for a truck. They were sharp, focused, like headlights slicing through darkness on a freeway. Yes, I'd like to ask about the extra charges, Titan Shield, market fees, maintenance plans, because from what I understand, these are optional, correct? Travis gave a seasoned smile. Well, technically they are optional, but the financing system has certain conditions, so it's really best to leave them in. Trust me, I've sold dozens this way. No one complains. Ethan nodded. Oh, and if I refuse them, my loan might not be approved, right? Travis chuckled. Exactly. Ethan paused, then slowly, calmly, he sat back down. One hand on the table, the other reached into his shirt pocket and pulled out a phone. "Well then, Travis," Ethan said, his voice no longer that of Cole Jensen. It was deeper, clearer, and unmistakably authoritative. "Could you repeat that for me, clearly? I'd like to record it for the board of directors." Travis frowned. "What are you talking about?" Ethan stood, slowly, deliberately. He removed the baseball cap that had shadowed his face all day, and in that single motion, the stage flipped. There stood Ethan Blake, chairman, founder of Blake's Heavy Motors. A ripple of whispers surged through the showroom like a wave crashing ashore. Leo froze. A few customers turned around. Staff members dropped drinks in shock. Travis went pale, as if he'd swallowed ice. He took a step back. "Mr. Blake, I didn't know." "No, you didn't." Ethan's eyes burned now. "And that's the problem." He tapped a button on his phone. Travis's voice echoed through the room. "Technically, they are optional, but the financing system has certain conditions, so it's best to leave them in." Ethan stepped to the center desk. With a swift motion, he pressed the showroom-wide intercom button. "All employees, please report to the main floor immediately. This is an emergency meeting. No exceptions." Within 3 minutes, the entire showroom was packed. Salespeople, technicians, even browsing customers stood in stunned silence as Ethan stood front and center. "Many of you may not have met me. I'm Ethan Blake, the man who built Blake's Heavy Motors from a small garage in the suburbs. And today, I'm not here to talk about revenue or expansion plans. I'm here to talk about trust." He raised his phone and played another recording this time, Leo's voice from the previous day. "I don't think it's fair, but here we're not allowed to say no. If you refuse the protection plan, finance will say the loan's denied." Silence. Shock. The whole place seemed to hold its breath. Travis stood frozen, white as a sheet. Ethan turned. "Leo." Leo stepped forward. His voice trembled slightly, but his eyes gleamed as if a weight had finally lifted. I confirm. That's the process Travis made us follow. Anyone who didn't go along is given bad shifts or cut from bonuses." The last guy who told the truth, Josh, was fired 2 weeks ago. Ethan nodded, then looked around the room. No one will be fired for telling the truth. No one will be punished for doing the right thing. But Travis will. He turned to face him. "You're fired, Travis. Effective immediately." 2 security guards, already positioned by Ethan, stepped out and calmly escorted Travis away. The room buzzed with murmurs, but no one objected. No one defended him. Travis struggled. "You're killing your own sales, Ethan." Ethan stared at him, calm, resolute. "I'd rather lose a month of sales than lose the trust it took me 15 years to build." As Travis disappeared from the showroom, Ethan turned back. The room was utterly still, waiting for his final word. "Starting tomorrow, every contract will be reviewed. Every customer who was charged illegally will be contacted and refunded. If you were ever pressured to do wrong, come to me. If you plan to keep doing wrong, you'd better leave with Travis." Ethan walked to the front desk and pressed the internal call button. "Connect me to customer Miguel Santos. Tell him I'd like to personally deliver the truck he should have received from the start." No one said another word, but every eye followed the man at the center, not just a CEO, but the only one brave enough to unmask the very system he had built. A system that now was about to begin again, built on truth. The day after Travis Monroe was publicly fired in the middle of the showroom, Blake's Heavy Motors entered a strange new state of silence. Gone were the fake laughs over contracts, the quiet shuffle of techs skipping final checks, and the bark commands from managers rushing to hit their KPIs. In their place lingered a cautious stillness tinged with hope. Ethan Blake sat in an office on the ground floor, its glass walls open, no curtains, no blinds. Outside were the sounds of car wash pumps, ringing phones, and the awkward greetings of staff who, until recently, only knew the boss as a face in an industry magazine, now sitting in the middle of the dealership like any other administrative employee, typing on a laptop. On his desk was a thick stack of files, every vehicle contract from the past 6 months. Beside them, a large whiteboard displayed 3 lines in bold red marker. Undisclosed fees, customers pressured into add-ons, employees pushed to dead shifts. Ethan had stayed up the entire night replaying audio clips, reviewing footage from his hat camera, revisiting every cafe conversation, every exchange with Leo, Noah, even Alyssa, who had once avoided eye contact but appeared at his office door at sunrise and whispered, "I tried to speak up to Travis once, but I was scared." Watch him. Ethan didn't blame her. He simply said, "I need the truth, not an apology." That afternoon, he called a full staff meeting, no PowerPoint, no flowers, no awards, just a handheld mic and a projector screen displaying a real contract with a very real number. Regional market adjustment, $950, not listed in any federal regulation. "This isn't a feel-good meeting," Ethan began, his voice steady and devoid of flourish. "This is a listening session." He looked around. "I've read over 300 contracts in the last 24 hours. Nearly 60% include at least 2 dubious charges. I don't need to recap what Travis did, you all know. The real question is, what do we, the ones still here, choose to do next?" The room fell silent. Then a hand rose. It was Noah Kent, longtime technician. He stepped forward, still in his grease-stained coveralls. "I once told Travis letting cars leave without proper inspection was wrong. I got moved to night shifts for a month. I stayed quiet, and I take responsibility for that silence." Ethan nodded. "Do you want to change that today?" Noah met his gaze, resolute. "I do, not just for me, for the rookies coming in so they don't learn the wrong way from the start." Ethan smiled for the first time that meeting. "Good. From today forward, Noah Kent will head the technical training division, and I want your first program to be called Get It Right the First Time." Applause started soft, then grew. Ethan looked toward the back. Leo. Leo stepped up, looking just like the first time Ethan met him, a bit hunched, but eyes steady. "Would you be willing to train the sales team, show them how to sell without tricks?" Leo nodded. "I'll start with 3 rules. No hidden fees, no psychological pressure, no paperwork confusion. Then starting today, Leo leads our sales ethics division." The room held its breath. No one had expected such a big role to be handed to someone so young. But no one objected, because everyone knew he'd earned it. The following 3 weeks became the most transformative in the dealership's history. Every old contract was reviewed. Every customer wrongfully charged received an email or call from Ethan himself or a company rep with a formal apology and a refund. A new corner of the showroom was created, called the True Value Station, where customers could review every fee transparently on a touchscreen before speaking to a salesperson. A new leaderboard was hung in the central lobby, ranking the top 10 employees based on honesty and service, not sales, much else. At the top, Leo and Alyssa. Above the main office, Ethan had a wooden sign carved and mounted. It read, "An informed customer is an invitation to honesty." One afternoon, as sunlight filtered through the lot, Miguel Santos, the father once scammed out of $5,000, returned to the dealership with his eldest daughter. He paused at the doorway, then stepped in. Ethan was already waiting, holding the keys to a Ford F-150, the exact model Miguel had originally chosen, and a new simple contract with no added fees. "We're sorry, this truck, same price, same terms you originally signed for. Nothing else added." Miguel said nothing, but his daughter began to cry. Ethan gently handed her a small card. "We've just created a scholarship fund for logistics students. It's called the Santos Rising Fund. You're the first recipient. You deserve it." Miguel was speechless. The showroom stood silent. Other customers quietly rose from their seats, not to leave, but to pay their respects. They weren't just witnessing a truck dealership. They were witnessing the rebuilding of trust. That night, Ethan didn't go home. He stayed at the office, alone, sitting in front of the same whiteboard from day one. He erased the 3 old lines and wrote a single new one. "Never let silence feed injustice." And beneath it, he added, "Tomorrow continue." Early morning, the first rays of sunlight slipped over the tin-roofed warehouse on the east side of Blake's Heavy Motors, casting soft golden streaks onto the row of pristine trucks. silently waiting to be chosen. The air was gentler than usual, laced with the smell of freshly cut grass and the distant honk of traffic from the main road. A man in a dark gray mechanic's uniform quietly entered the showroom. Beneath his jacket peeked an old flannel shirt. His boots bore faint traces of engine oil. No one recognized who he really was. Ethan Blake, founder of the dealership, had kept his Monday morning ritual. Not signing contracts, not to issue orders, but simply walking through the showroom, brushing his fingers over door handles, listening to the sound of each hood latch, and may observe people. A young technician passed him, giving a small, respectful nod. "Good morning, Mr. Ethan." Ethan nodded back, smiling. No one feared him anymore. They called him by his real name with respect, not because of his title. He paused in front of a familiar silver Ford F-150. Its window displayed a digital price sheet, the full cost visible. $35,000, no market markup, no mandatory Titan shield, no bundled maintenance upsells. A voice spoke from behind. "Looking for a truck, sir. I need something tough, but not with all those pricing games like the last place." Ethan turned. A small frame man in his 60s, wearing a pale blue shirt. Beside him stood a tall, bright-eyed young man, probably his grandson. "They tried to scam you?" Ethan asked, still using the calm, friendly tone of a seasoned consultant. The older man nodded, said one price, then added thousands in the fine print. "Nobody picked up the phone when we called back. My grandson needs a truck for his electrical jobs. No way we can afford tricks like that." Ethan nodded. "I understand. It's different here." The older man raised an eyebrow. "Really? Or is it just smoother talk, same game?" Ethan looked him straight in the eye, sincerity shining through. "Different because the people who were cheated elsewhere now run this place. Every truck here shows the full price up front. No employee can add a single fee without your signed consent. And if anyone tries, they answer directly to the founder." "And that would be you?" Ethan smiled and extended his hand. "You can just call me Ethan. No titles needed." The grandson stepped forward to shake his hand. "I'm Jaden, just graduated in residential electrical, looking to buy my first truck." Ethan studied him for a moment. In the young man's eyes was something no scam could fake hope. "Jaden, you won't have to haggle here," Ethan said. "You just need to ask 3 questions. What's the final price? What's included? And if I decline extras, will my purchase still go through?" Jaden nodded, surprised and visibly relieved. Ethan gently placed a hand on his shoulder. "If anyone here answers those wrong, come find me." Jaden's grandfather laughed, the kind of laugh that comes from real ease. "I like how you do things here. No fluff, just truth." Ethan walked them a few steps forward and handed them off to a new sales advisor, one trained under Leo's new pressure-free sales course. As the pair were guided away, Ethan lingered at the showroom entrance, gazing out at the lot. The place had changed, not just in layout, but in how people treated one another. Leo was now officially head of sales ethics. Alyssa managed the True Value Zone, where customers reviewed every contract in full before signing. Noah Kent was preparing to lead training for new technicians at a sister branch in the next city. As for Ethan, he was no longer CEO. He had stepped back from operations to focus on a new initiative, the Honest Bridge, a program to bring transparency standards to dealerships across the state. But he still returned here each week, not to oversee, but to remind himself every fracture is a place where light can shine through. That afternoon, after seeing off the visitors, Ethan returned to the small back office. On the desk sat a framed photo, the old truck his father once owned, the one he was swindled into buying. The same father who had taught Ethan the most important thing of all: when you can't trust others, make sure others can trust you. Ethan picked up his phone and sent a message to Noah. "Next week, bring the new tech team by my office. I want to hear their thoughts not on engines, but on how they want to be respected." He stood, locked the door. Outside, the late-day sun filtered through the Blake's Heavy Motors sign, now not just a name, but a promise that this place, this business, would never again be a battle of wits, but a place where trust was rebuilt. one contract at a time. Ethan stepped out, turned for one last glance before heading on. Keep this showroom not just clean, he whispered to himself with a faint smile, but honest. Because in a noisy world, sometimes the light comes from those who once stayed silent.